Good morning, everyone. It's Joe Abbate. Thank you for being patient with me on our first episode of Tank Bangers. We'll be coming live to you every weekday morning from 9 till about 10 or however long the show progresses at that point. Some of the good things about it I want to share with you are this. We'll have 3 different cameras, so you'll be able to see that side of the tank while I'm working on it, and we'll change it around. We'll go back to the other side of the tank. Something like this, add to stage. So you'll be able to get a good look at everything we're working on throughout the job. I'll also be able to see your comments. This is a very important thing that I haven't always been able to do in the past, is be able to see your comments on our screen. You got to let me know if you're getting any feedback or if you could see things okay and how things look to you. How things look to you on the screen, how the audio is, and anything else that would be pertinent to the show. I want to give you something that's going to be valuable, something that you can watch, something that's casual in a sense of, let's put it this way. There's not going to be any introductions, a lot of music and fanfare, giving away prizes. Think of it more like a Bob Ross show. Remember the guy that used to paint? Real casual, real quiet. Used to make you want to paint, although you never did it. It's just like that. You're going to have some techniques that I'm going to show you, how to fix gas tanks, aluminum tanks, how to sand and different things. And you're going to learn from that, and you'll be able to try it and ask me some questions along the way. Right now, I just got to do one more thing in order to get this correct, and I'll be right back. Okay. Thanks for joining me. I can't see any of your comments so far, but here's what we're going to be working on today. Let's get right down to it. Here's the side of an Elsinore tank. It's in my vise. You know, some of the camera angles could be a little clumsy at times, but whatever can go wrong will go wrong. Monday is garbage day here in Northern California. So we're going to just be patient. Okay. So let's get right down to it. Here we have, which was a dent. I lifted it up a little bit, okay? But you have some scratches in there as well. So the first thing I like to do is take maybe a little sanding block like this, something flat, and I want to run it over this area right here. And it's going to tell me, and this is 400 grit sandpaper. I don't want to use anything too abrasive that's going to cut down into the high spot just yet. I want to see where my low spot actually is. Before I go any further, priming or sanding or doing anything else like that. In the meantime, hey, Brian Ledger, thanks for joining me today. Walk up to the tank like the Fonz in a jukebox. Yeah. Let's see what else. I want to try a different angle here to see if you can. You can see it a little better like that. I could remember this is our first show, and I'm getting a few things worked out with the new equipment and with camera angles and things like that. Thank you for being patient with me. Oh, you got a good shot of it right there, huh? That's good. Now you can really see it. Background music, I don't know. They might cut me off, Brian. If I put some background music on, they're going to cut my video off for not having rights to the music. I've been through that. It would be very nice if I could do it. Unless I could do it from the Alexa where they don't detect it coming through. I don't know. I don't know. Right now, we're taking a look at this, and I'm going to sand it a little more to make sure you can see the low spot. And you can. You can see it right here. Hey, Tim Whitehouse. Sorry I made you guys wait a little bit this morning. I hope Mark Hildebrand comes back. What we have is a dent, but it's got some scratches in it too. So what I have to do is, instead of sanding this high spot down, I'm going to lift this area so I can raise the scratches up so I can then sand them out. And I think you got a pretty good shot of it here as well. Yeah, you can really see it in this shot. You can see the scratches in that low spot. So I am going to take, here, let's do this. This is the whole reason why I got the setup the way I did. This is a tool that I use. It sort of looks like a golf club. I actually had Darrell Dickerson make this for me. I try not to drill the hole any bigger than that in the tank so I don't do too much damage to the tank. Hi, Paul Parkinson Sr. We love you, and replicamotorcycleparts.com. Give me a call a little bit later on today. Let's figure out a way to get some things worked out again. I know you've been suffering due to tariffs and things like that, but we're here to help you out, okay? Here's the tool I use. Let's get back on the solo layout. I'm going to put this through a hole at the back of the tank that I've already drilled. And you've seen me do this before with the magnet. Magnet's going to tell me where the dent is. And I'm going to pry up on this closely. When you do this, for lack of a better word, well, it's not lack of a better word, but you're going to see some dimples come up in the tank where you're prying. You want to make them right next to each other, as close as possible. Otherwise, you're going to have little low spots next to your high spots, and you're going to create more work for yourself there. Notice I'm staying away from the high spot, the little shiny spot in the middle. I'm staying away from that because that is about at the right level. But we are prying away around it, all through those scratches and all through the low spots. And this is generally not a one-shot deal. In other words, when you're sanding like that, you're not going to get it all up in one shot, go back and sand, and you're going to have a perfectly flat spot. It's a game of patience and skill, not speed and strength. The more you do it, the better you will get at it. You could always ask me questions. I'll do everything I can. Hi, Mark Halpern. Recovering from the Unadilla MX Rewind. I hope you had a great time up there. Hi, Kelly Cole. And I'm humming away if you want live music. You do that, Paul Parkinson. All right, let's get back to this now. So you see where I've lifted up that scratch right there, or the low spot with the scratches around it. I'm going to go back again with the 400 on a flat, on a little, I've had this thing for like 50 years, this little block. Anyway, now you can see where, you see where it's a little shinier now? How it looks shinier through that whole section? You see that? This whole section right here is shinier because I've raised it up. Now, I think I want to raise it up even a little bit more in some of the lower sections. And then we'll take the next step in sanding, and I'll show you how we can get those scratches out. And I've got a few other tips I'm going to show you this morning. Well, we're going to see how it goes, but we're going to keep right on going. Don't forget, if you got questions, please ask. I can see them. Also, another thing to keep in mind, a lot of times people would ask about sanding. How do you sand it? What are the techniques for sanding? Until you go do it, you'll never know. You can watch 5 different body guys do 10 different things. Everybody's got a different trick, a different way of doing things. A lot of times I use a board like this. I put the sandpaper on the side, and I just use this edge to go across very, very gentle waves. And if the waves are going, say, left to right, I'm going to take it from the top to the bottom, and I sand in little circles, just using that little edge. Everybody's got a different way of doing it. But yeah, so it's a little difficult for me to say, sand it this way or sand it that way. I'll try and tell you as much as I can about the way I do it on the way, but I can't tell you everything. Not because I don't want to, just because you do things naturally, and that's the way it goes. Anyway, we've got our dent raised up a little bit now. Also, funny, I just said I can't tell you everything. Well, I can tell you this. A good way to sand is crisscross, perpendicular, horizontal, vertical. Just don't go in one way all the time. All right, now, I've used the 400 purposely. It's not cutting off much material. I don't want to cut off much material. I just want to get it as flat as I can to expose the smaller scratches. I do feel high spots in here where the scratches are. That was the purpose of doing it in the first place. You want to get the scratches up. You want to lift the scratches higher than the level that they're supposed to be at. So when you sand them down, you come as closely back to level as possible. All right. I'm going to follow up here, just like I said. I'm going to take this is the whole purpose of having 3 cameras, isn't it? I'm going to take this board right here, and I'm going to put some 180 grit paper on the edge of it. 180. And we'll talk more about different types of sandpapers too, as shows progress, okay? And I guess this is always a good time to say, don't forget to watch Vintage Motocross Q&A every Wednesday at 6 p.m. live on Facebook. We've been doing that for about 5 years now, and we've got some good sponsors that help us out with the show, including Racer X, International Motocross Museum, Motion Pro, and all the sponsors you see right here on this list, okay? Let's get back to where we were. Got my 180 grit on there. I've got it on the edge. I told you that sometimes I just use this edge right here to sand down. Let's take a look at that right now and see how that works. Okay, we're definitely getting there with that, and I think I'm going to go a little aggressive for a moment here with a little 80 grit sandpaper, and I'm just going to fold it in a little piece just like this. Keep it in the palm of my hand, like that. Put it over those scratches and go around in some tight little circles. And you want to go past your scratches too. In fact, any damage that you're working on, any low spots, you want to go around the perimeter of those things, not just concentrate on that one area, because then you create a little bit of a low spot. So don't be afraid to go out a little bit, not too aggressively, but enough to bring down your area evenly so you have less to deal with later on in the repair. Now, I think if you look closely right here, you can see where there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's like seven little scratches, I guess you'd call them. They're not gouges, they're just scratches, but there are 7 of them. And it's a whole lot less than we got started a little while ago. And our high spot, which was right there in the middle, is under control as well. I'm going to go across these scratches. Okay, I'm going to go across. They're going this way. This is the longest way they're going. I'm going to go across them a little bit. Try and cut them down. If you look closer, you can see they're getting smaller and smaller with each pass I take. Let's get a different camera angle here, and we'll see if you can see it any better through here. Yeah, looks a little different from that angle. Don't forget, this is the first episode of Tank Bangers. I'm going to be doing this every morning from 9 to 10 Pacific Standard Time. For the rest of you, it will be on 10, 11, and 12 o'clock throughout the country. It will be live, and I'm going to try and bring it to you live every morning until I run out of tanks, which I don't think is going to be anytime soon. All right, I'm going to go with a little finer paper this time. I'm going to go back to the 180. Are you guys seeing a difference there? Hey, Tom Ewing. Yeah, I'm going to do this on weekdays at 9 o'clock my time. So you can tune in tomorrow again. I'm going to do it I got a little bit of a late start today because I had a little technical problem with my new equipment. But I'm going to be doing it at 9 o'clock every morning, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, basically what I'm doing is taking you into my shop every day and showing you how I work on gas tanks. There's going to be different problems every day. Whew, a little out of breath. There's going to be different dents, different scratches. You're going to see a little bit something different every day at 9. Want the inside scoop of why I did this? Don't tell anybody. My wife's complaining that I don't get out here till 10 o'clock every day. So I gave myself a reason to get out here at 9. Don't say nothing. Let's get back to that side of the tank. I'm going to hit it with a little 180. Now, here's a little tip. You're going to be tempted when you have scratches that resemble, let's see if I can show you a little bit better here. Oh, finally, I found a Sharpie when I actually needed it. You may not be able to see these scratches, but I'm going to draw this on here like this, and one like this, and one like this. What you're going to be tempted to do at times, because you want to see the scratch go away, is to take your thumb or your index finger and start doing this. Now I can do it here because it's going to remove the Sharpie mark, but it's not going to dig into the tank. It's not really something you should do, because in a situation like that, you're going to create 1, 2, 3 low spots in that tank. They might not be that low. You might get away with that when you've lifted it up and you're taking out the big scratches. But once you get down to level, to where you're very, very close to where you should be on that tank, avoid digging in with your one index finger or your thumb to try and get those lines out. Either keep it on a long board, a soft board, a sanding block, or the palm of your hand. So you cover a little bit more of the area. All right, I've got 4 that are being a little persistent. I've got one here, one here, one here, and one here. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to the here. If you guys didn't get a look at this a little bit in the beginning. Oh boy. All right. We're going to go back to, let's see here. All right. We're going to go back to this tool. It's like a golf club. It's got a little nub on the end like that. See that? Daryl Dickerson made that for me a while ago. And that's like the only tool I ever had made professionally. Hi, Brian Ledger. Thanks again for the kind words. Let's go back here. And those 4 spots, which are being a little persistent, I am going to go through the back of the tank. And when I say the back of the tank, let me show you what I mean, okay? This is really the whole point of the show, is to give you guys a better, here. You see that? You see that hole? This one right here? That's what I have in the other tank that you see me working on. Sometimes they get a little bigger, maybe as big as your pinky. Many times I only have to drill it maybe a 1/4 of an inch. It doesn't really matter. You don't see it once it's back on the motorcycle either way. And there's really no alternative. You have to get to the dent. You have to get it out. So sometimes that's what I do, and that's what needed to be done. So when I'm putting this in through the back of that tank right now to take off those 4 scratches that are being a little persistent, that's the way I'm doing it, through the back of the tank. So you go right here. My magnet tells me where that tool is. I'm going to gently pry on that area, gently. I can see it coming up. You probably cannot. But I'm gently prying on it. And I will prove to you that I did raise them up a bit. I'll do that by going back to my 400 grit and gently go over this. And you can see where it's a little shinier there. I mean, just barely going over it with the 400, no pressure, nothing. Scratch is almost done. In fact, they are done. Now, let me discuss this with you while I'm thinking about it. Many, many times in body work, in a body shop, it's always customary, and it's the right technique, is to go from your coarser grit sandpapers to your finer grit sandpapers, taking the scratches out little by little. It doesn't always work that way with aluminum tank restorations. Sometimes I like to use 400 after I've pried it up a little bit and I've gone over it, as you've seen me do here. I've gone over it with 80, with 180, but I don't want to take off too much more material. I don't want to take off too much more aluminum. So I'll go with maybe a 240, a 320, even a 400. So some body guys may say, well, that's not the way you do it. And no, it's not the way you do it when you're working with fillers and polyester putties and things like that. It is the way I do it when I work on aluminum. So something to keep in mind. But for the majority of your sanding, once you get a real flat surface, you do want to take it in the regular numerical progression, okay? You'd want to go just like this, 80, 180, 240, 320, and so on. Your questions and comments are absolutely welcome here. In fact, I need them to let me know how this show is going. I see I've got 17 viewers here. I only see a couple of questions and comments, but hey, I'm just grateful that you're here and that you're enjoying this today. Where was I? I got out the 4 scratches, right? Okay. Let's get back over there. I took it down with the 400, and now I want to try and level it off a little more. Get a little closer. Use it flat in your hand. Sometimes I use it, but no bigger than this. Sometimes I'll fold it. Depends. But when I'm at this point, small, tight circles, medium pressure. I'm going beyond the area that was damaged and that I was working on. Why? I want to take down a bigger area evenly, not just take down the area that I've been concentrating on. Yes, you did see me use my thumb right here, the way I told you to be careful before, and not necessarily do it that way. But I'm still a little high here, so I'm going to take advantage of that. I'm still a little high here on the tank. I'm not a little high here in Northern California, if you know what I mean. All right. Now, I'm really happy that you're here to notice, or for me to show you something that a lot of people just don't get to see it. They don't understand it. It's not something, how can I say it to you? This is where well, you guys got me sweating over here. This is where the real time comes in repairing a tank. Drilling a hole in it, lifting a big dent, difficult. Not the hardest part of the job. Making that big dent, smaller dents, smaller damage, getting it down to where I had it there at the beginning of the show, down to the scratches. Yeah, that takes time. Hang on, give me a second. But now I'm going to show you what really takes the patience. This is where the patience comes in through all of it. But I'm going to show you now that we have this thing down to a slow roar, and it looks really nice. Looks really nice on camera. But when I put my hand over it, I can tell you it's a little weighty. At this point, I like to get a sanding block like this. All right, it's pretty long. It's soft. This thing is curved just about perfect at this point from all these years of working on Elsinore tanks. It just about has the exact curve of a tank. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do it with 320 because I do want to, I feel it, and I do want to take off a little bit more material than you would think. So I'm going to tear off a piece about this big. I'm going to cover half the board with it like this. I don't need it on the whole. I don't need it on the whole board. And let's go back to camera 2. Oh, by the way, does it say it over here? Motion Pro Cam? Does it say that on the bottom of your screen? Motion Pro Cam? Anyway, trying to do that. Let's leave it on this camera here for just a minute. All right, thanks again for joining me today on the premiere broadcast of Tank Bangers, part of Vintage Motocross Q&A. I got the scratches out. I've got the high spot out. I've got the dent out. Things don't feel quite right here. And as I mentioned to you, this is where the time and the patience come in. With not too much pressure, I'm going to go back and forth on this tank. Vertically. And in just a moment, you're going to see, yeah, all the scratches are gone and the big dents and a lot of the damage. I mean, I've got some other stuff down here and down here, but this is the side we're working on. And, oh, you could see it as plain as day. You could see it as plain as day all through. In fact, here, for those of you that maybe can't, no, you can't miss it. You see where the shiny spots are from me going up and down? Well, then you look at the other. Here, you can see it from this side too. Now you could see the low spot that I still have in the tank. That's from previous damage. That was there was a pretty big dent on this side, which I got out. And then I wanted to show you how I got out. Boy, I did a good job there. That's right where the dents and the scratches were. But now I've got this. I got all that. Now, it really isn't all that bad. It's certainly not the end of the world, but this is where the patience comes in because I have to go back over all that again. Okay? I have to go back over that again. You know what I'm going to do right now? Because I need a little breather from sanding. I could use a piece of gum, and I could use a little bit of my cranberry juice and seltzer. Yeah, I could do this. Thank you. Thank you to Racer X, International Motocross Museum, Motion Pro, Bultaco East, Sirius Studios, Vintco, Full Circle Racing, Preston Petty Products. I do have a PayPal account where people can make a donation to Vintage Motocross Q&A. I'm not going to bring that into the equation here today. Sirius Studios, some great off-road, or should I say off-track gear. This is for you guys who are tired they're tired of wearing the skull and the crossbones and all the bright yellow and red and all that other stuff, but you want to be an individual, you go into a party, you want to wear something a little bit different, get over to Sirius Studios. Russell Waters, longtime sponsor of Vintage Motocross Q&A. Don't forget AMSOIL, not only for oil, but for cleaners, all types of lubricants. They even have gun cleaner and things like that for you Second Amendment guys. Now, I don't know why I turned the camera on when I'm taking a drink. But anyway, hey, you're getting that Bob Ross feeling like the guy who used to paint real quietly, used to soothe you and calm you down, used to love watching him every day, because that's what I'm trying to do. Okay. let's get back to the task at hand. We've got this big low spot. If you looked at the tank, you couldn't see it. If you run your hand over it, you could see it. And heaven forbid you tried to paint it, you would certainly see a big low spot. I'm taking the golf club handle again, and I'm going in manually. All right. Now, what I'm going to do, so you get an idea or a better idea, I'm just going to do this. Let's not worry about this right now. Let's just look at this. Because if you go to do this on your own, follow this technique that I'm going to show you. What we're going to do is we're just going to lift up over here. If we start going all over this thing, we're going to have a lot more low spots all through it, and you're going to keep chasing it. Then it's going to get to a point of where you can't pick up the low spots anymore because they're so small. You're going to be raising the metal around it. You're going to be lifting, sanding. You're going to be taking off too much material. Okay? Let's get back to this part right here. I can see it from an angle. You cannot. But I can see where I'm creating these dimples that are coming up through the aluminum. And you'll be able to see them in a minute, because after I work my way to the top of this section, I'm going to take some 400 grit and just barely skim over the top of this area that I'm working on. And you'll see those dimples, and you'll see exactly how close they are. Don't forget our Wednesday show. If you're watching this from either my personal page on Facebook, I think we're live on YouTube as well. If you're watching it from either of those places, please go over to the Vintage Motocross Q&A group. Give us a like, share, follow. That's the workbench that's making that squeaky noise, not me. I squeak, but not that loud. Just about up at the top there. Okay. Now, let's take a little piece of 400. I want to get back to the comments to see if some of the comments are coming through. Tom Ewing, Tim Whitehouse, Kelly Cole. Yeah, I saw a lot of these a little bit earlier. I don't really know how this works on Facebook, but I only see so many of the comments. Anyway, tear off a piece of this 400. And lightly, I'm just got my fingers on the paper. Just resting my fingers on the paper. See what I'm talking about? You see those little dimples? You see all that? You want to get those as close as possible. And now that I can see these, then I can see maybe where I didn't quite get a section, like through here or through here. I'm going to go back again. I'm going to put this through the access hole in the back of the tank. I'm going to put my magnet here again because that's going to tell me approximately where I'm going to be. Get that out of the way. All right. And I want to lift it everywhere that I may have missed the first time around. Don't forget, there's a special at Motion Pro, 20% off across the board on everything except custom-made cables. Put in the code MP9135. That's MP9135 when you check out at Motion Pro. 20% off across the board. Also, Chris Carter of Motion Pro has been nominated by the AMA for an induction in the non-compete or non-competition category. Motion Pro has been a big supporter of ours for many years. Chris Carter has been a good friend, and it's hard to look at a race anywhere without seeing the Motion Pro banner. You need to be a lifetime member to vote, but you can do it online up until June 16th. That's Chris Carter for an AMA Hall of Fame induction. All right. Tried away at that for a while again. I've got my 400 grit. I'm going to go this way this time. A little bit this way. And you could see where it's actually filled in. Sure beats Bondo. Yeah, you won't find any of that. You won't find any of that in these parts, Paul Griffin. Thanks for joining us. Johnny Rebel. Boy, metal tanks bring back memories of extreme pain. I'll never forget caving in metal tank on a YZ. Yeah, no doubt about it, John. But you can see where that section has come up. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go. Here's what I'm going to do. I talked to you about this a little bit earlier. We were talking about this board with using half of it, and I showed you this where I was using it on the edge, which works really, really well. This board is very, very hard along the edge. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this piece of 320 that's on here, and I'm going to fold it over the edge like that. See that? Okay. Now I'm going to go back to that area that has all those raised dimples. They're all nice and tight. Small circles, nice and light. Not too much pressure. We don't want to take off more than we have to. Going past the damage that I'm working on just a little bit. So the area and around it comes down evenly. Okay. Now, remember how that marker went through here? Notice how you don't see that? Well, you don't see it because I lifted it up, I sanded it, and I made it level with the other sections of the tank, out here and out here. Okay, now, if you remember the spot that we had before, marker went all the way out here. I took this longboard like this. Bill Nasal Rod. Thank you, sir. By the way, if anybody's looking to see, and I say this without prejudice, without remorse, regret, I would die on this hill. The nicest 1973 CR250 Honda Elsinore belongs to Bill Nasal Rod. He restored it mostly with NOS parts, including the tank, the pipe, and so much more. Unless somebody has one that was just taken out of the crate, and I can't even believe it would be that nice if it was in a crate for the last 55 years, at the Broom Factory. Bill Nasal Rod's 73 CR250. The best I've ever seen. Anyway, we're going to go back with this. And we're going to double check our work. Okay? And sometimes, for no particular reason, I like to squirt a little water or something on there. You know what I use to clean my tanks when I really want them clean, like before stickers or anything like that? Where's the camera? I can't tell where the hell anything is anymore. AMSOIL. Here, let me do this. This stuff right here. This stuff right here. AMSOIL. Glass cleaner. I love this stuff. Thank you, Russell Waters, for your longtime support. My wife uses this in the house. I use it in the shop. It's really, really, really good stuff. And it foams. It doesn't just, you don't just shoot it on the window in the mirror and it runs down there crying. Okay? Where the heck was I? Here we go. Here, give you a little example of what I'm talking about. Ooh, it foams, baby. See that? All right. Let's get that wiped off. Now remember, we had a big low spot all through there. I came back here earlier. Got it? Whole area that had the marker down here is now very close. It is not perfect still. I still have, I can see a little shadow here of a low spot, a little dimple here. But doesn't have that big low spot that it had when we got started and I had to draw with the when I had to draw with the Sharpie. It's not so easy to talk and do this. Got a little spot right there. Now, I've got a little high spot. Actually, I think I got a little low spot right here. How we're going to find that is we're going to take a good hard block like this. And sometimes, you know what? You don't have a hard block like that, and you want to try this? Use a piece of block like this. Use a piece of of aluminum. If you have it, as long as it's nice and smooth. You could use wood, but wood's uneven. And I mean, I guess if it were something really hard, oak, walnut, something like that. But I like to use a little piece of aluminum like that. And I am going to use a piece of 320. In fact, I'm going to show you using that using this, the aluminum block. It's a way to kind of encourage a couple of people at home. You may say, oh, I don't have a sanding block like Joe has. I don't have certain things that he has. Well, nothing that secretive, nothing that you couldn't certainly find. Anyway, let's get back over here. I'm sanded, but I'm feeling a little something right here yet. Got a little low spot here. Got a little low spot there. This is the part I was talking about earlier, to where you have to go back 2, 3, maybe 4 times to get that out. Very close. Okay. Do I want to show you? No. Here's what we're going to do. I've been at it for about an hour now. And I'm going to continue working here in my shop on this tank. I'll probably work on a couple of different things, but when I come back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock again, we'll pick up where we left off. And you know what? I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going. There's 8 of you here. Even though I'm kind of tired. Here, you know what I'm going to do? I got to sit down for a minute. Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to run a commercial. And when I come back, I'll show you I'll show you something that took me a long time to figure out. All right? We'll be back after this word from VMXQ&A.
Motocross struck America, coming from Europe like a lightning bolt, striking the hearts and minds of people all across the country and the world. Battles of intense racing and cutting rivalries with loyalty to brands and heroes intensified as years of blood, sweat, and dirt flew through the minds of those memories of champions as they wrestled their machines through almost impossible tracks. But where are those past champions? And where are their bikes? Terry Good, an ex-pro motocross racer, has made it his life mission to honor these heroes and the bikes they rode to stardom. We raced, we rode, we lived and breathed motocross. Go back in time and relive those moments, now preserved for the first time ever in the world's first museum dedicated to the history of motocross. Our new building is in the gate. Help us get a great start and you can be part of history. Go to internationalmotocrossmuseum.org and become a part of our team.
The International Motocross Museum is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. Be sure to visit them online at internationalmotocrossmuseum.org. Okay, being I kind of caught my breath here for a second and got the sweat from my brow, I'm going to go back and show you something. It took me a while to figure out. Body men have known about it. I didn't. Oh, I don't know. It's kind of something they keep close to the vest. They don't want to tell you too much about it for whatever reason. Or maybe I just don't hang around body shops and I never caught on to it. But let's go back and look at this tank for a second. This is pretty smooth. It's pretty flat. It is not perfect. I am going to show you a way, or maybe I should show you first how perfect it isn't. And once I show you how perfect it isn't, I'll show you how I do get it perfect. Let's start off with that hard block again, maybe a little 400. And I'm going to go this way. Lightly, very lightly. Now, I'm going to point it out to you in case you're missing it. I don't know if you could see it any better from this side through this. And you could see it a little bit, but let's go back to this one. We've got some very, very shallow spots here, here, right here. There's a little one here. Now, if I go back in to the back of that tank with this tool right here, if I go back in there and try and raise those areas, it's going to raise more than I need to be raised. It's going to create high spots. I'm going to wind up chasing my tail, and it's never going to be right. And you're going to wind up removing more material than you have to and creating more work for yourself. How do you get the minimal low spots down over a length like that? You'll see guys do it in body shops. You see them all over the internet these days. They use long plastic boards. They use soft boards. There's all kinds of things. And everybody's been trying to reinvent the wheel since this whole game began. But I'm going to show you a method today. And it's this. What is this? This is a ruler. It's a metal ruler. You could do it with a paint stick too. You could do it with a piece of aluminum like this. But I like to use this ruler. Now, I've been working my way down 180 or 80, 180, 320, 240. Been going back and forth, and I got it down to where there's just some slight waves in the tank. This is a little different than when you do it on a fender of a car or something that's flat, where you could work on that area with your hand or longboards, sanding blocks. This is different because the tank is curved front to back. It's curved top to bottom. So you need something that's going to sort of do that. While that is all the way down to about 320, I'm going to go back to 180. And I am going to, here, maybe I can show you from this camera how I do it. There's nothing real dramatic about it, but here's our ruler. Here's our paper that I just ripped off. What I like to do is just go to the edge. This is why I use sticky back paper. And whatever the width of this paper is, I don't know, 2-inch, whatever it might be. It just happens to wrap around that stick with just a little overage. Now, I don't know if I should move the camera. I'm going to try and keep it where it is when I show you this, okay? I want my hands, I want to make sure you guys see this. Maybe I should do it with the other angle. That's what I think I should do. TV, does the same technique apply to steel tanks as well? You would have one hell of a time doing that on a steel tank, which is why I don't work on steel tanks. Yes, it does. If you want to use a hammer on dolly and you want to try that, I would recommend you could do it if you're a seasoned body man, but you're not coming on, you're not going to do it on your first try out. And if it's a steel tank, what I would recommend you do, I would recommend you could use this technique that I'm doing here. You could put the rod inside the back of the tank and lift it up. You could do all that. But steel reacts completely differently than aluminum. And when you start to heat it up, you really got to heat it up cherry red to move it. When you do that, it moves very quickly and it cools very quickly. And, well, it doesn't really cool very quickly, but when it does cool, it hardens. It gets harder to manipulate again. Can it be done on steel? Yeah. It can be done. I don't do it. Where was I? TV. Who's TV anyway? You got a name, TV? Maybe I could help you out. I could point you in the right direction. Okay. Let's look at it from this way, okay? We've got our whole section here, which is close, but not all the way there. I'm taking this 180. I put it on my ruler. I am going to cover just about the whole length of the ruler, including with my thumbs right here. And okay. And I can see it, but you probably can't. I've only got a little spot over here, a little spot over here. Don't go too fast. Don't make your circles too big. I would also recommend you wear a mask when you do this, especially if you're using some kind of electric sander, jitterbug, anything like that. All right, come along pretty well here. Yeah, I'm low right here yet where we were working earlier, but I wanted to show you how to get the big dent to a smaller dent to a low spot, lift the low spot, going very, very closely with the tool all the way across, sanding it with your 400 so you can see the dimples. Any place you miss, you go over it again, and you get to the point of where we're at right now, where I just had a few low spots. And I use my tricky ruler technique to take it down even. I'm going to change the paper. I'm going to go from 180. And notice I use both sides of the paper. Sometimes I have to do it twice. Sometimes I have to do it 3 times. It all depends what the damage is like, how big it is, how long it is. Once again, I'm going to take some 240. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I'm over here. I'm going to take some 240 like this. Slip our ruler on there. Bring it right to the edge. Flip it over. And this is nice because it twists a little bit. It flexes this way too, which is what this tank does. It's curved this way, it's curved this way. I want to keep as much of the ruler and the paper covered with my hand as possible, because I want to take down an even amount of material throughout the section. Oh, clogging paper. You want to make sure that you clean out your paper as often as you have to. See how that paper's got the aluminum in there? What I like to do is either take a hard block like this or whatever. It could even be, it doesn't matter. Here, it could be this. All right. Clean paper. Clean paper, sharper, cuts better. Oh, that's nice. Oh, is that nice? And I've only gone from 80 to 180. Stick with me another 15, 20 minutes, and I will show you that this section is so straight that I'm going to polish it. You're going to see how straight it is. But it's going to take me another 15 or 20 minutes. At least I kind of got my second wind here. Well, I spoke too soon. Second wind. I'm a little tired. I'm going to be doing this every weekday at 9 a.m. from 9 till about 10, 11. I don't know. If I get into a swing like I am today, I'm going to keep right on going for a couple hours. I thought it was only going to be maybe a half hour, maybe an hour. But as people continue to watch and they stay and they stick with me and they ask a couple of questions here and there, I'm going to keep going. I have to do the work anyway, guys. It's just a look inside my shop on a daily basis. That's what I'm doing. So, I don't know. Let's let's get back to this camera. Let's take it up or down, however you prefer to call it. Let's take it down to 320. Am I going the right way here? 320. Here we go. Like I showed you before. Yeah, let me do it from this camera angle. I like this one better, I think. Okay. Again, there's the paper that's clogged. Get that paper unclogged, keep it clean, keep it sharp. Thank you for watching our first episode of Tank Bangers, segment, part of Vintage Motocross Q&A. We have our Vintage Motocross Q&A. How about wet sanding to keep the dust down? Wet sanding is done right before you're ready to clear coat or polish, or you're actually going to wet sand, clear coat before polishing. I don't create that much dust with the tools that I use. Now, where was I? That was 320. We are going to 400. You've probably heard me say this before if you watched any of my shows before. When you go out shopping for sandpaper, you don't want to go to Home Depot or Lowe's or any places like that. You want to look for a place that has P-rated paper. See this? P400. That's what you want. You want P-rated paper. You're going to find that in an auto body supply shop. You're not going to find that. I mean, you might find it at Napa or AutoZone or something like that, but you're going to pay through the nose for it. Go through a auto body supply shop, buy it by the rule. All right, we're down to 400 on this section right here. Okay. Now, I think I thought I had a piece of 600. Yeah. That's 400. I don't know what the fuck this is. That's 600. That's 600. Okay. While I take a little bit of a break before the next step, I'd like to share this with you. I mentioned before about P-rated paper. There's actually an organization worldwide that keeps track of grits of sandpaper. So if you were sanding here in America and you used 400, then you went to Belgium or France or wherever you went, and you buy 400 sandpaper, it's got to be the same. Believe it or not. There is an organization. It's like the Organization of Abrasive Standards. It's a thing. I had something on Vintage Motocross Q&A about it a little bit ago. So P is the best paper you can buy. Now, I'm down to 400. I could go to 6. I probably should. But I'm going to share something else with you right here and show you about our work, how it went today. And yeah, I'm just going to take one more piece of 400. I'm going to go this way. And I'm doing it this way because it's basically the way our brush finish goes when we finish Elsinore tanks. Sorry, forgot to change the camera back. There you go. Somebody calling somebody? What's going on here? Anyway. All right. I'm going to take a little bit of compound like this. Compound like this. Could use red rubbing compound, could use other compounds. I happen to have this here. Whose phone is ringing? Anyway, let me get a rag. Let me get some soft towels. And I'll show you what. We'll see how straight this sanding that I did actually is this morning. Soft cotton. Sheets to your bed. That's soft. Not t-shirt cotton. Not anything with nylon in it. Not anything else mixed in. Just cotton. For cutting the first section of my polishing, I'm going to use a terry cloth towel. Here it is right here. I need a scissor. I want to cut a section off. This is also cotton towel, but it's got a little texture to it, the way towels do. And yes, I suppose if you wanted to do it with a machine, you could do it with a machine. I don't like to do it with a machine, and I'll tell you why. And I have a buffing machine. We're concerned about the brush finish. I'll show you in a minute. we're concerned about the brush finish. So I cut in with the 400 grit, and I go back and forth that way. So let's get back to this. We're going to take a little of our compound. We put a couple little dollops here, like this. Spread it out a little. We'll do that one more time. See how shiny it's getting, guys? It's getting shiny, but you can see the sanding marks in it. You can see the brush finish. All right. One more time with the nice cotton. See how that black comes up from all the aluminum? Yeah. Oh, I'm on this camera. Okay, see that? Okay. I'm going to take it out of the vise. If I can get my clamp right here. I'm going to go back over here. You remember what the tank looked like at the beginning, where it just had that dent, it had those scratches, it had. Well, there you go. Okay. Now, I spent the better part of 90 minutes fixing not so much a dent, but an area that had some scratches and a high spot. Then some other little areas in there as well. Then when I took the longboard and I went over the whole side, it brought out the low spot that I had. Then I picked that up, went all the way back to 80, 180, 240, 320, 400. And then I hit it with the compound by hand. I did that on the other tank. Just give me a second. I'll get it for you here. Here it is. I did it on the whole side of the tank. So now, sometimes people do say to me, and I made a post about this the other day. Well, Joe, isn't it shinier? The tank I remember on my bike looked shinier. It didn't have as much. It didn't have as much of a sanded finish. They're all finished differently. No two tanks from an Elsinore are exactly the same, but most of them are like that. T from TV, the wet sanding. When I said to you before about wet sanding, and I said, no, that's usually done for clear coats or sometime on a single stage paint before they buff it, it can be done on aluminum. It can be wet sanded. I have done it. So I don't want to say no. But I only go to that point, not on an Elsinore tank, on a TT500 tank, on a Husky tank where it's really shiny, where it looks like a mirror finish. Then I'll go to the 600, the 800, probably 1,000, then compound it to make it look like a mirror. So I take back what I said a little bit earlier about that. Thank you for joining me today, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow with another episode of Tank Banging on Vintage Motocross Q&A. I didn't tell many people about it today. It was our first episode. I didn't know how it was going to go. I did have a little technical problem at the beginning, but we are done for today on Tank Banger. We'll see you next time. In fact, we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9.